Yo, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. I'm Sinclair and I got a tune. I told you I should have been an MC soon. Yeah, let's just never do that again. Hello, welcome to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about knowing your rate. Because you rate yourself, right? So why not know your rate perfectly? Today we are going to be talking about knowing your rate. This is one that people normally ask me about because it's a very confusing game out there. You don't know if you're charging too much, if you're charging too little, you don't know if you should shoot your shot, or you don't know if you shouldn't shoot your shot. But I'm here to tell you, navigating your rate is hard. That's just what it is. The reason I say it's hard is because it comes down to a lot of different things. It comes down to experience, it comes down to how cheeky you are, it comes down to what equipment you have, it comes down to what client it is, and then overall, just what do you want to achieve at the end of the day. So all of these things factor into what your rate is and how much you can charge for your work. So today we'll explore the different ways that you can make sure that you are not getting ripped off and to ensure that you are always progressing to get what you're worth. Because I want you guys to make some money, like send me some money too, you know, like, hey baby, take me out to dinner, like something like that. First of all, let's talk about experience. Your experience can dictate whether you can make £1 million or £2, or $1 million or $2, depending on where you are. Shout out my Americans. Obviously, if you've just started in media, you cannot charge £1,000 a video. Like, it's just real. Like, you can try, but I don't know how that's gonna work for you if your production isn't great, but like, you have to know your level. You need to know where you are and where you can start from. So a good place I would say to start, this is just throwing out numbers, let's say £200 to do a shoot. And I'm actually saying something very key here, to do a shoot. I'm not saying to do a shoot and edit, because what people tend to do, which messes them up, they brand themselves together as a whole package. So they're like, yeah, they'll charge £200 to do a shoot and edit, which is ridiculous. And the person who you're paying is laughing. If we break it down, even on the lower scale, a decent camera may cost you, let's say £500 to £1,000. Then there's also your travel, let's say £50. So we're already at about 1,050. Then we also got to take into consideration your time. Are you shooting for 5 minutes or 5 hours? This is all very key into your rate. Then another thing is like, do you need help with that? So is it just you going to shoot, or do you need to get someone to help and assist you? That's more money. But I think if you see where I'm going here, I'm actually saying when it comes to charging for stuff, there is a lot of factors put into it. Even the editing side, you can do a package deal of £200, but then you need to think, okay, how much does it cost to video edit? How much does your computer cost? How much electricity does it cost to even run your computer or laptop? And all of this builds up. Don't get me wrong, when you're starting off, like, by all means, take the hit. But when you start to progress, you need to start thinking about these things. For example, my computer is expensive, and I'm sure once I turn it on, it's charging electricity like crazy. So I can't afford to be like, yeah, well, I'm just gonna do like a shoot and an edit for like £200, and yeah, it's real quick. Like, because I understand the time, the effort, and the worth. And I think the real thing that people do forget about when they're charging is their experience. I've had clients that will book me because they know the speed and the level that I work at. So for example, people will do a job where it's shoot, edit, export, deliver, same day. It may take them 8 hours, sometimes they may be delayed and all this other stuff, and that's just not really good for content. But I would go there and I would do the job in 4 or 5 hours and go home. But because I'm able to do that job in 4 to 5 hours and someone does it in 8 hours, does that mean that I should get paid any less? No. The reason that is because my skill level allows me to do that. And it's not a case of, oh, well, if you work fast, you get paid less. No, I have worked hard. I have learned. I have done the grittiest of stuff to make sure that I am up to a level to do that. You have to pay for that. And it's the same with you. You have made sacrifices to make sure you are where you are at now. It could be financial sacrifices, it could be personal sacrifices. It could be like, I don't sleep because I'm always checking out stuff. But those sacrifices also need to be incorporated into your costs, because if you didn't do that, the client is not gonna benefit from it. And a lot of people just don't really rate themselves like that. So I want you to rate yourself, especially if you're out here grinding. Like, I know the media game is tough, like, it's tough. So if you're out here doing the tough work, please get paid. Next thing I'd like to talk about is upping your rate. Let's get this money. The reason I say this is like, so many people will stay on the same rate for years. Impossible. I don't want that for you. I really do not want that for you. If you are working in the field and you are doing media, you may upgrade your camera, you may upgrade your equipment, you will also upgrade your experience. That costs something. So you should be in a place where you're like, okay, like I know that I've been working for 5 years. I started off from ground zero, I'm now at level 10. I know that my worth has increased. So if you're like, well, I'm gonna upgrade my prices by £100 or whatever, let's not go too crazy, but don't feel pressured or don't feel scared to up your prices. Because the worst thing that can happen when you up your prices is the client says, well, we can't afford this right now, or they can say yes. And like, since my career, I've upgraded my prices and I'm still within a job. And if you think about things like inflation and all that other stuff, which is just a whole nother thing, if you don't upgrade your prices, you're getting paid less and your money's worth less. So you have to upgrade your prices to keep up with the times. And to buy equipment, to refresh stuff, get insurance on your stuff, you need money. Don't sell yourself short as a media person. Like, I feel a lot of the time people disrespect the craft. They disrespect it. Working for experience, or like, oh, well, can you just come with a camera and just take some pictures? Like, people disrespect the craft. You need to take back that ownership of what you do. What we do is specialized. Not everyone can take a picture. Deep it. Not everyone can take a picture. Not everyone can make a video. So when someone goes to you, oh, can you just bring your camera and take some pictures? You know what goes into making that picture or that video happen. That is a skill. You are a skilled worker. Don't forget that. Say it with me. I am a skilled worker. Because you are. And video's popping. I think I've said this before. Video is popping. Photography is popping, but it's not popping like video. You know what you do and you know how hard it is. The reason I keep mentioning photos is because like it's such an easy example to put out there. People think you go take a photo, pull it on your computer and send it to them. No, you have to know how to take the photo, how you want it to look, aperture, exposure, and then when you take it to edit it, you might change the colors, add sharpness, add a vignette, all that other stuff. No one takes that into account. They just think, oh, I'm just gonna take a photo and it's gonna be amazing. So I just want you to respect yourself. I respect you. Respect yourself and make sure that you are upgrading your prices. Another way that you can kind of dictate your rate is obviously your client. You need to know your clientele. If you're working for John down the road who works in a burger joint, you can't say to him, oh, I'm gonna charge you £5 for a video, because he's most probably not gonna pay that. Let's be real. But if you're working in a corporate environment and they need certain things done, you can obviously charge more. So you need to really know who your clientele is and what you're working with. And that can really help with your work. You know, if you go to work in a small shop, they might not need the big budget camera. They might not need all this crazy stuff. You can scale down accordingly. And not to say you can't go and bring the production in, but not everyone is gonna need Steven Spielberg. Sometimes they need John from down the road. So that is just really helpful. But once you kind of know your clientele and all that other stuff, you have an expectation and you know what to go in with. And also, when it comes to those kind of jobs, you can also have a bit more fun with it, because you're like, okay, I know I will charge you less because of what you're doing and what I'm trying to do. Then you can make that a passion project. You're like, okay, we're gonna do this and we're gonna be really creative and we're gonna do that. And then that just makes you look good in the long term, because they're a happy client. They're most people gonna come back to you. Plus, you've now got something you can show other people what you've done. So don't really count out the small guy, because the small guy will let you do stuff that the bigger clients won't. And I'm telling you that from experience. And also, just to round up, your equipment. If you got expensive equipment, charge for it. Very simple. If you got cheap equipment, charge a bit less for it. Or you can be cheeky and see if you can get more for it. It's all a game of a seesaw. What can you get away with? Even if you're like, okay, well, I've got like this little camera and like it's not really that expensive, you can say, well, I charge X. And if they're like, ooh, feel free to try and balance that out. Be like, well, what can you do? I saw a great quote online and the guy said, when it comes to people asking how much I cost, what he responds to them is like, well, if you let me know your budget, I'm sure we can work within your means. Do you know how powerful that is? A lot of the time, people have a budget or they have something in mind of what they can work with. If you get that information from them, then you know what you're working with. You know what your starting point is, and then you can advise, okay, well, you can do this, you can do that. It then brings your experience. But like I'm saying, if someone wants to pay you £2.50, you can bring an iPhone. Like, it's just that real. Like, I know I'm encouraging you to be bad, but like, if someone's taking a mick with you, you'd be like, okay, well, if your budget is £100, then this is what £100 gets you. But if you can increase your budget to say £1,000, this is the production we can make happen. And a lot of the time, you just need to show people what is possible. Because sometimes people are very naive to this camera stuff, so they just think, oh, it's just a little camera and blah, blah, blah. But if you say, okay, we're gonna need a light, and like, we might put something in the background to spice it up and all this other stuff, and actually show them the value you bring, a lot of the time people will accept an upsell because they're like, whoa, I feel like I'm getting something. But if they charge you low and you're like, whoa, it's cool, then they expect a lot on a small budget, and that's when you get yourself into some serious trouble. And I think you might know this, the clients that don't pay or expect something for free are the most demanding. So make sure you position yourself in a place where if people are demanding stuff, at least you're getting paid for it. And that way it's a win-win. So once again, I hope all of that has been really helpful and insightful. Just trying to give you some insight into what is possible and what you can do to make sure you can navigate stuff. If you like this video, do make sure to like, comment, and subscribe because it really helps. Still kind of fresh, but like I said, the airplane is zooming. So yeah, get on board, get a ticket, and get grooving. I was Aaron Sinclair, and this is Media Moguls, and I will catch you on the next one.